keep going. So thanks everybody for meeting. This will be our 4th meeting of the year. Appreciate y'all coming in person, and for those on the phone, we'll do introductions here in just a moment. But I think for the most part, everybody knows each other here. We're going to spend, we did not have a guest speaker today. I was trying to look at someone on the kind of medical or space side, but we will get into those topics maybe at our next meeting. But we do want to spend a fair amount of time going through the annual report, any updates, changes, and go ahead and if we're all comfortable, we'll go for approval, and we'll walk through that process when we get there. So since we won't see each other for daylight savings time and turning our clocks back, I thought a safety message this morning would be just as you get to that, which is in early November, it's a good time to also go ahead and check the rest of critical kind of emergency response equipment in your house, like smoke detector batteries and other carbon monoxide and things that are safety devices in your home that run on batteries. It's a good time and a reminder to go ahead and change those out. So as you turn your clocks back, we'll be doing that as well, so everything in your home is protected. And with that, I think we will quickly just, I think for the record, we'll go around the room and then to the virtual and introduce each other. So, Bill, do you want to start over here?
Okay, Bill Briscoe, George Washington University.
Gary Tepper, Virginia Commonwealth University.
Jeff Fox, University of Virginia. Tim Stutler, Virginia Economic Development Partnership.
Tom DePonte with Framatome.
April Wade, Virginia Nuclear Energy Consortium.
John Capps, Virginia's Community Colleges.
Andrew Hutton, Jefferson Lab.
Scott Koppel, BWST.
Dean Graycheck, American Nuclear Society.
Larry Corky, Virginia Department of Energy.
Brandy Fisher-Pastovich, Virginia Energy.
Ryan Welch, Virginia Energy. Matt Latlower, Virginia FCC.
And David, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, David Essa with the Virginia State Corporation.
And who else do we have up there, Ryan? Sorry.
Ronnie Smith is on.
Oh yeah, Ronnie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Ronnie Smith here. Thank you.
And Tara from.
Oh yeah, and Tara. Sorry, do you want to introduce yourself? Okay.
That is one of our colleagues at Virginia Energy.
Great. Okay. So, like I said, we'll get into the annual report. Ryan, do we have the ability to share the draft?
Do you want your draft or do you want this draft?
You can do mine on Friday I sent some additions, some changes to Ryan, so we can look at those and review them. But I also like to open it up to the group for comments, edits, additions, changes, anything for the annual report. This is slightly, I would say, slimmed down from our previous versions to be more direct to the activities of the year, as we, I think, talked about last year. That was one of the changes we made, so we're not repeating information that's been in past reports. That's kind of in the archives. So this is really focused on the strategy and any recommendations and activities for the authority for the year. And then I will, after we go through kind of our portion of the report, I'll turn it over to April for updates on, kind of walking through the VNEC update as well that will be included.
I can make that bigger if I need to.
So yeah, this will allow us, if we have other edits, we can make these in real time, and then Ryan and the Virginia Energy staff can incorporate all these into the final draft. But we can vote on changes and the final version before we leave today. So let's see. Ryan, do we want to walk through my changes, the ones that I sent first, so folks can see them, and then we can also add others as we go.
And I'm just gonna let you drive and I'll scroll.
Okay, yeah, so I think, do you still have the track changes in there, or is just?
When I,
Yeah, there we go, okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anywhere I started.
Is there any way to make that larger?
Yeah.
No, I can acknowledge that message box on here.
that is me. I'm trying to do the lights. Oh.
And Ryan, I may have you, since it's hard for me to read this from back here, so you can read the text, I can give you the commentary though. But the first change I had there was, Ryan, if you want to read it, it was focused on how we had an increasing role in the meetings this year with coordination with Energy Delta Lab, where we had Will Payne join us as a regular attendee on the agenda.
The first added bullet is expanding the coordination and information exchange with other key Virginia stakeholder groups, including regular briefing opportunities with Energy Delta Lab leadership.
Thought this was consistent with kind of the energy plan and the focus on Southwest Virginia and incorporating those inputs. Can you read that one again, Ryan? I just want to... Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Expanding the coordination and information exchange.
No, sorry. The final bullet. We can go ahead, if it's okay with everybody, we can read these and we can take the sections one by one if we're approved or have any other changes. If that works for you. So this was, we talked about how we provide updates on what's going on kind of in other states. I think one thing that's been an interesting activity both for the authority and the consortium is this body this year specifically has been looked at as an example for other states. And I know I've had three conversations with folks in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Idaho. I know April's had multiple conversations as in her capacity on the consortium with states that are looking to do exactly what Virginia has been doing. So that was just trying to capture that activity throughout the year and kind of the influence of the authority. Any other comments or changes on the authority meeting activities? We'll get to the asset inventory when we actually look at that list later on. Anything, Ronnie or David, on the phone that you guys had or on the Zoom?
No, nothing further from me. Thanks.
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and then if we want to keep scrolling down. So this was just adding a little bit more to Braden's presentation, specifically to identify that he had highlighted the Spark Virginia events that are being held around the Commonwealth for participations from any organizations as part of the authority. And this was just adding a little bit more to Christine's presentation about the current activities, the collaboration that is available for the authority with GAIN. Just trying to flag things that would be relevant, I think, especially to the General Assembly members that may look at this. Obviously, the Governor's Office has regular updates. And then this was just updating a little bit more on what Simon shared with us during our last meeting on the polling and the parties that participated in that study. Any other comments or changes on the presentations? No.
There may have been a typo in the first one.
Yes, please.
The invitations for organizations to participate maybe instead of participated.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. I think those were the main areas of comment that I had, and then just some changes to the way we list the appendixes, or the appendices, excuse me, towards the end with the order, just so we know which one we're putting in the VNEC update, and authority members. Did folks have other comments, additions, questions?
Yeah, so Tom, on the last page, the one that says Appendix B. So right there in that paragraph, it said that the consortium was formally launched in 2015 and now has been in operation for over 3 years. Is there some significance to the 3 years? Because it's been a lot more than 3 years.
Well, it's 8, but,
So,
yeah, it's 8 years. But that is technically when we did officially launch. I mean, you guys can change it if you want, but even though legislation passed in 2013, we weren't up and operating until 2015.
no, I'm good with the date. I just was wondering if there was some significance that, you know, the law said that if you were able to last 3 years, you were good or something.
Well, I think we passed that. We just got to get it past the 10.
So it was correct the way it was written?
No, it needs to be for over 8 years.
Okay.
I think that was just a miss.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's a good catch. April, do you want to go over, everybody has in their packet the VNEC 2023 report. We're not commenting or changing this because this is the consortium's report, but April, do you kind of want to go over what the...
It's pretty similar to what I've done the last couple of years, just kind of give a brief overview of our activities. The only thing I do need to go back and add something about our Southwest coordination and attending MIT and then I just added all the legislation that we were involved with this past session. And then the big thing is, you know, looking at what we're going to do and getting prepared for next year, because 2024 we have to update the strategic plan again, which seems like we just did that yesterday, but we have to update it next year. So it's just a brief overview of what activities we have done.
Can I ask a question about membership?
We've added a few members.
Yes, I think that's been a great thing that's happened this year for the consortium. I'm wondering if it's worth saying anything about new members or indicating folks that joined this year or anything. It's a question.
No, that's fine. That's fair. We added X Energy as a new member. Holtec is a new member this year. New Skill was last year. Those are the 2 new ones this year. Everything else was the same as last year. Curio came in at the end of last year. So those are the 2 new ones. And we may get a couple more this year. I know of one out there. But I will tell you, we have talked as a board that we are going to have a conversation as we bring in new members. We've grown quite a lot. 8 to 14 is a little different management, and so we are going to do a little bit more communication and make sure that everybody that's coming on board fits our mission. And right now everybody does, but we just want to make sure we maintain, because we have gotten requests from a lot of organizations to join, and there's a couple that we have. For instance, I think Fusion is great. I just don't think Fusion is in our mission right now to have as members.
So the statement that the number of participants has gone from 8 to 14 since the beginning is true.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a good statement.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost doubled, right? So, and what would you say, last 2 years?
The last 2 years, it's almost, well, actually the last year, because really, you all came back, Curio came on,
Yeah, I mean, Appalachian Power.
Appalachian Power came on last year,
NewScale.
and NewScale, and X Energy, and Holtec.
I think it might be worthwhile to say something about that, because I think that's significant, the fact that it's almost doubled in the last, let's say, 18 months or
I
something
can add
like
that
that.
in.
I think that
in.
shows increasing interest in the topic, in the,
Yeah, and I know I'll go into this more, but Tom mentioned that and calls, but I've getting more calls, even looking at trying to coordinate with other states on our activities together, so we're not all doubling up on the work. North Carolina, Tennessee is now conversation, so we're really branching out into states trying to work together a little bit more on what our activities are.
any questions on the VNEC portion?
Just for a slight detour, what is the status of the hub?
So, I'll go ahead and get there.
We're gonna get there in the
You're gonna get
VNEC,
there,
in the
okay.
VNEC update, that's gonna be, yeah.
Tom, just only because it was mentioned, and maybe this is already our plan, but I think our Q1 meeting next year, we should include the strategic plan on the agenda. So obviously, hopefully it's more updating than rewriting, but a lot has happened since.
I think there's gonna
So
be a
for,
lot.
I just think from a work standpoint, so it's not July, and we're starting to go, it's time to update. Let's tackle that, or begin to tackle that,
Yeah.
the beginning of the year, is all I'm saying, because.
I think on the strategic plan, and you're definitely right. I think it's going to be a lot of more rewriting. We're at a different place than I think we were 4 years ago. Some of it's going to be updating, but we hopefully we'll have a meeting kind of start the conversation, and we'll see what we can do. Probably won't have a bigger meeting till right after the legislature. I don't think I can do both at the same time, but it is definitely on the radar to make sure we have a lot of good conversations about it going into this next phase I think we're going to be in.
Yeah, even more the reason that to start early, just a living document.
Yes.
So we're not scrambling.
Yeah, we want to
Get
do
people
it.
thinking, is my point. Get everyone around the table really thinking about
And I'm probably
what
gonna
needs
be
to change.
a little spoiled because we did it during COVID, and y'all were everybody was a lot easier to get a hold of during COVID. So it's going to take a lot more planning and getting people, and it's going to be some of the conversations that everybody's going to have to be in the room to have these conversations. Virtual is just not going to be able to do it.
So maybe it's a good note, Ryan, I just put it down, but I think in our Q1 meeting, we should review what was, we can send out the strategic plan that we had, and then maybe it's not, starting to brainstorm updates, but it's more of a roadmap of how it gets done. We can talk about on.
I think it'd be nice at that first meeting if people would come, again, Ryan can send it out, and thinking about what are the big things, then nothing has to be written at that point, but just get people's minds going.
And it'd also be helped me if you all would just provide some feedback on April. We need to make sure we have X included. And
section on this, or this doesn't apply anymore.
Exactly.
Yep, agreed.
Any of that guidance would be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we'll set aside key portions. Okay. Any other comments on the annual report or the VNEC portion, and then we'll get to that. I think we just want to make sure we go through the asset inventory. Okay, Ronnie or David, any other comments from you all on the WebEx on the annual report text or VNEC portion?
Nothing from me and no questions either. Thanks.
Thanks. Ronnie?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
And I see Randy Heflin's joined us as well. Randy, we're just going over the annual report. Were there any changes or comments that you had to the draft that Ryan had sent out?
No, thank you very much.
Okay.
We actually need to vote on virtual participation.
We do.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's right, that's right, I forgot. Since we had a quorum, I forgot that we had to. Okay, so, we will back up and vote on that. Do I have a motion to, do I need to, I forget the actual text that I need to read for that.
If you just say to allow participation by members, it's good enough for government work.
Do I have a motion to allow virtual participation by authority members?
So moved.
Bill, second by Andrew. Okay, I think we need to do a roll call, right?
You should just.
Voice vote's fine, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so unanimous approval, and we don't have any comments yet from anyone. All right. So I would like us to take a minute, if you haven't already, because I know Scott and I have talked about this before, but we wanted to spend a little bit more time on the asset inventory to make sure that we're not missing stuff. I already have one because my own company needs to be updated. But if folks can look not only at your own organization, but others that are on the inventory, if you see things that are either no longer relevant or you see that need to be updated in other fashion, can we take a minute here and just look at these so we're making sure we have the most up-to-date list.
Are we missing universities?
I think there's a university page, isn't there?
That's a copy of it.
Yeah,
I thought there was a university page.
I will share because there's certainly.
Because there's a research.
Who's in the?
there's a federal research laboratory.
It may have misprinted.
Okay, yeah, because I can remember we used to have.
There was
so,
an
yeah.
email, but it didn't.
I will share my screen.
Okay.
And maybe I've just missed it, but should VNAC be listed as an asset?
I think it should now. I think when we created this, it was a little, so I'm wondering where we should.
Was it a little sketchy back then?
Well, it was just, it was different.
Educational institutions.
I think we should put it into the other category. There we go.
I'm
Yeah.
going to email them.
Okay.
That was a misunderstanding on my part.
Okay, so let's.
Yeah, I usually just put it in myself, but, you know, the VP said, should do it.
Ryan, can we add under other, add VNAC?
So like I obviously can make changes to my company, that's simple, but I looked through some of this list and would it be helpful, and if we need a motion to ask the Virginia Energy staff to go through and sort of do a due diligence check on some of this, because I'll be the first to admit I don't know every company here, you know, that's listed in the supply chain, but I look at like DynCorp and I know they were, you know, acquired, for example, by Amentum at some point.
Yep.
You know, the last 2 years.
On this page that's on the screen right now, I don't believe the Center for Advanced Engineering and Research is currently operational.
You're correct.
This is Ronnie. Just a question. Is Jefferson Lab, National Lab, shut?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There it is. I see it. Thank you.
Yeah, the care one, that's a good one. We need to add appellation.
Okay, actually, under utilities, you need to add AEP as / Appalachian Power.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
On the utilities page, we need to add AEP / Appalachian Power. That's the subsidiary. And they're same as Dominion, kind of power generation, transmission, distribution.
The other asset I would add, under other, the Dominion Innovation Group, They should be added under other as well.
Yeah, Braden's that organization.
And Energy Delta Lab.
Some of these data are rather old as well.
Yeah.
The revenue figures date back to fiscal year 12.
Right. Which tells you that it's out of date, or hasn't been updated since.
The numbers are probably much larger now than they were 10 years ago.
Oh, much smaller.
Ryan, I've got an update on Paramount with a new CEO.
April, is Excel, Don Hoffman still a member of the consortium? So why, I don't think they ought to be listed here. They're the only
So
company here
it's
without a
Catherine
Virginia.
Williams,
What?
and it's KA.
Well, but I think the question is, and it's always, it was a question
TRIN
for,
Williams.
are they actually a Virginia company? And I don't believe,
I don't think they ever were.
I think they're Rockford.
Everything else is.
I think they're Maryland.
What's that?
Is the 1,200,000,000 is about right?
Yes, that's all.
But I guess that's that question, I mean, they do business here, I'm sure, so I think that's,
There's lots of companies that do business.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I think that's right. Ryan, Excel services, we should take them off. So I'm not even sure how Don ended up as chair of the authority.
I have no idea. But
They're based in
But-
Maryland and they don't really have operations in Virginia.
They're doing a lot with the Maryland group.
Yeah.
Ryan, I update for VWX. We changed the revenue to 2.23 billion, and that's calendar year 2022. 2.23.
So 6,700.
7,000. So right over the Thank you.
But we do need to add Urenco. They actually do have an office here in Virginia.
Where?
Arlington,
Russell?
they moved about,
It's
50 years ago.
Urenco USA.
That's what I was going to say.
yeah, you're USA.
This is university stuff. Do we need to go to that page so the university can just make sure that the date is correct? Or did you guys see it?
And I can zoom in more.
I checked it online.
Okay.
The other group on other I would include is the Virginia Energy Workforce Consortium, VWC.
From NPR.
Not in a while.
I forget that they're based in Alexandria. They're involved in a lot of stuff like this.
It's actually
NPR.
at least
Engineering firm in Alexandria.
is Dominion
There's a
Energy
lot of-
Engineering.
Is this where you start to get into where you draw a line?
No, I'm just,
Yeah.
it came to mind because I was at 2 meetings last week where their folks were involved, that they're usually pretty engaged.
What about
Have they ever reached out to us?
What about Dominion Engineering?
You're on the-
There are those?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think
Yeah, that's the only one.
okay, so,
Yeah.
right, it's a little small.
Any others? Do you want to offer your motion? I like
Yeah,
it.
I'm trying to think the right way to do it. I guess I'll, feel free to correct or amend, I guess. But I think I'd like to make a motion to direct the staff, Virginia Energy staff, to go through this list, and perform a due diligence check
Before we go vote, can we look at the universities real quick? Because
Yeah.
I think, I want to make sure the community college system is listed as well.
It
It
is.
is.
And I sent some corrections.
Okay, perfect.
to Ryan.
Perfect.
So can I offer a modification so we can, so I think, Scott's offering a motion for, Virginia Energy staff to do due diligence check of the asset inventory for, the key information and, in one case specifically, that the company is still under the same name. But just a due diligence check prior to, the asset inventory going into the, annual report. So,
Yeah.
okay. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Gene? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Ryan, did we capture all that? Perfect. Okay. All right, are there any other comments on any of the items in our materials in the annual report? So I think the plan will be, we'd like to entertain a motion on approval of the annual report with revisions approved today, correct? Right?
Basically, to allow staff to do revisions as necessary as outlined by the board.
Yeah.
And then submit it without having to re-go through.
Right, so the process then is, staff will update, the drafts as we've talked about today. It will be submitted to leadership at Virginia Energy, and then for submittal to the Assembly and the Governor, this fall. If there are any issues or significant changes that come back from, anybody in the review cycle at Virginia Energy, Ryan and I have already talked about that. We still have the option to do another virtual meeting this year. We've only done one. So per the guidelines, we can come back together virtually if we need to, and vote on a amended draft if there's significant changes. Don't anticipate there will be, but in the event that there is, we'll schedule that and get a vote. That's okay with everyone. Okay. All right. So do I have a motion to approve the annual report with the changes being made by Virginia Energy staff?
So moved.
John? Okay. Second?
Second.
Bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. All right, so speaking of the hub, April, here, let me give you this so everybody can the VNAC update.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Is this working? Okay. Well, I'm going to start off a little differently. So earlier this month, myself and a few others from the state were able to go to MIT for a 3-day course on nuclear energy, which was really great. I want to put it out there if you all have names that you would like me to submit for next year. The course is free, you have to pay for your travel and stuff, but it was very well worth it, very valuable to go to. So again, if there's names of people you all think would find useful, just let me know and I'll get them added to the list for next summer. This summer, the Vent Hub organization got put aside for a month or so because we were focusing on the EDA Tech Hub that came out earlier this year. VNEC participated in 2 applications. One is for planning that we partnered with the Lynchburg Regional Alliance, and then we are leading organization for a designation for a tech hub. And the tech hub region is basically Lynchburg to Southwest. Both areas are basically, both proposals are that. They're just a little different. We just found, and why there's 2 proposals, we just found there was a lot of interest, so we just split it up that way, and it just made sense. So we were supportive of Lynchburg was supportive of ours, but they went for planning, and we went for designation. It should, if we get it, it should put us into a good place with partnering with VinHub on some federal funding and some projects. A lot of the stuff goals are very similar, especially on workforce development, but there is some emphasis on with data centers as well. So VinHub, the governor got a budget passed, although with funding, it's a less than what we thought earlier this year. It's $4 million. I'm not sure how that is breaking out to support VinHub yet, so as soon as I know, we'll let you all know, but that's still being worked out. We are close to being done with the governing documents. We do have our 501c. We're just got a few more things housekeeping things that we're working on, but Bob Bailey has been hired and he's been helping us get through this. So that is where that's at. We have a workforce working group. We've had one meeting. We're meeting again, I think, next week, trying to come together on some things that we want to make sure that we know what projects that what's out there, what companies can just support each other on, what legislation we may need, just coordinate together. We have probably over 20 people in the working group, so it's a good group, good conversation, and hopefully we'll be able to do some work with the Department of Education later this year as a group. They've asked us for some information to help support getting more information on working in the nuclear energy industry. Let's see. Virginia Clean Energy Summit is coming up next month. I think y'all remember about a year and a half ago, we did a virtual panel with them. There's actually going to be a panel this year on nuclear energy. So hopefully it'll be on advanced nuclear. It should be a good opportunity for us to get out in front of this group and really talk about what's going on with the industry right now. I'm pretty excited about that panel. It's been they have not usually included nuclear in their summit, so this is our first year being a part of that. The strategic plan we talked about. We are working right now on preparing for the 2024 legislature. We're going to be meeting with legislators this fall and talking about where we're at as an industry and some of the things that we're going to want to be looking at doing during the legislature. Don't have specific bills put together yet, but we'll be having those in the next month or so put together. Let's see, what else do I have here? And then the working group, Supply Chain Summit, I'm looking at dates for November to put that together on. Waiting on one group to see if we can coordinate with and do it at the same time, but we should have dates for that later on this fall. And still coordinating new activities with Southwest Virginia, so and doing panels across the state and talking about VNEC and the industry and our activities. I don't know if we missed anything. Any questions?
One thing on the EDA Tech Hub, as April kind of alluded to or talked about, the three, I would say, focus areas of that proposal were largely around workforce for the future. Let's put it that way. What are the needs to both launch and support the industry in Virginia, but also throughout the deployment of new reactors outside of Virginia. To go along with that, what's the kind of supply chain infrastructure needs and how that can be supported in Virginia with the look towards export out of the state. And then finally is more of an aspirational goal of how do you deploy the new things in the Commonwealth. And April alluded to that, the support of data centers or other maybe non-traditional applications as well as traditional reactor deployments. So I think I will give April a lot of credit. It was not the easiest process, which it never is, but I think the final product, both that came from the proposal from the business that was led by the Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance for the planning grant, as well as the larger designation proposal. The final products were actually very good, and I think are put the state in a strong position to win those engagements. In the event that happens, I would encourage, obviously there'll be, an update to the authority on the status, but I think there's opportunity for engagement from many of the members on this body in making it successful. There'll be a lot of activity that's needed, but then hopefully there'll be resources that can support that as well. But it's a good opportunity to continue to boost the industry and the infrastructure in the state.
For the designation, and for the planning, we probably won't see anything from the EDA on approval till late November or December. But VNEC will start putting together a plan if we do get it on how we need to go forward and looking at hiring a consultant to help us through this next process.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the competitive landscape of the bids as you know it relative to other regions outside of Virginia?
There's over 300 applications for EDA planning or tech or designation. I don't know the breakdown between the two. I know probably, including our applications, there's probably 3 or 4 others regarding nuclear. I believe Washington has one, North Carolina has one, and Tennessee.
The key thing on that though is none of those are in the region that Virginia is competing in, right? We're kind of in the, let's call it mid-Atlantic to northeast.
Correct.
So from a energy type, we're unique in our region, I think is fair to say.
Very fair to say. And we check off a lot of the boxes. So we feel pretty good that we have a strong chance of getting one of them.
Thanks.
So for those of us that are ignorant, could you explain designation?
I'm going to because I can't. No, I'm joking.
Designation is really, it will be saying this area, you are a tech hub. We will be a tech hub for the nuclear industry. And then we say planning, you put more thought into what that's actually going to look like. You'll need a little bit of funding, more funding. This puts us kind of straight away, we're going designation. And I think it makes sense for what the work we've done with the VIN hub. We've done a lot of this already. I think we're pretty prepared to do it, but it will actually have that designation. We'll have that, that badge.
So it means that's where it's going to be.
Yes. And I would have thought it would have been great if we could do the whole state, but there's some criteria we had to meet. Any other questions?
All right. So then next is just the approval of the past minutes. If folks have reviewed those. Ryan, I have one small comment on the public comments. We just have a difference in text size. Any other?
Yeah, so.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead.
I really was there.
Yes, you were, actually.
This is about the third time I've been left off. I noticed too, I blacked out in the screen too.
Maybe that was why, Bill. In case.
You can come sit up here with us.
I had noticed the print difference too.
So on the front, on that sentence that says the following were there, so that's kind of probably, you shouldn't say were there because it sounds like it's somewhere else, so we're present perhaps. But Tasha's last name got dropped.
Yeah, I don't know if we had Tasha's last name.
It's on
we
the
have
back.
it on the back.
On the back, there's a name.
Yes, then we should have that. You're right. And I would just say the following provided public comment on that. And we know there were. anything else? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
John, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Oh, I did have a comment.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's okay.
I missed it. So at the bottom where we have reference to Simon for last meeting, I noticed that all these titles got corrected in the annual report, but this is still the
Yeah, I was gonna go back and fix that because it's a function of, this was printed before I had your edits.
Yeah, I just want to recognize that he's one of
Yeah.
leaders of potential energy because they're the ones who did the study.
all right, so you're just gonna make it consistent with the.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Great. All right, do we have any member updates that we want to share? Scott, good morning. You guys always have.
It keeps going. In August, we announced we received an award from DOE from NSA to basically process, it'll come out to about 2 metric tons of HALEU, which is the advanced reactor community is clamoring for. So the first tranche will be probably several hundred kilograms in 2024. So it's not everything everyone needs, and certainly not the 2 big ARDPs who need about 20 metric tons between the 2 of them for their first course, but it's a start. So that'll all be Lynchburg work for us. So
Where's the material coming from?
Y12. So that's why it's an NNSA contract. It's coming from their programs. So it's in all sorts of forms and enrichment levels. But it'll be usable HALEU feedstock at the end of our process.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right. There's a lot of nuclear news. I don't know if anyone wants to provide anything going on, but there's a lot of good news and different things going on. So we'll continue to share that as it comes out. Ryan will send that around. Feel free to provide anything you see to him. But there's a lot of good news, and I think more to come. As Scott alluded to, there's plenty coming out of the federal government, Department of Energy. Supposedly a larger request for proposals from the department coming out on HALEU any day now. And many other things. So, is there any other updates that folks wanted to provide? Okay. So, like I said, unless there's a need to, we will not meet again this year. I appreciate everybody's participation. I think we've had some very engaging meetings this year. We'll continue to invite speakers that are relevant and provide good context for our discussions. Our plan, I think, will be to try to meet in early 2024. Ryan will send some dates out for January. We will use that one again as our virtual meeting, if that's okay for everyone. It'll make it logistically easier. Will help us if there's any weather issues. We won't have to travel. And I think we will not only kind of set the stage for what's already happening or going to happen in the legislative session, we'll go over kind of the strategic plan. Please send that out. We'll have Ryan send that out beforehand so we can review and come to the meeting with our thoughts on what we would like to see in the next strategic plan, where we want to go with that. And then the last thing is, if you have suggestions for speakers or folks you think would be useful for the group to hear from, please feel free to send those to Ryan or me, and we will go recruit them to come help. But otherwise, unless there's any updates from the group, I'll go to any public comment. Okay, do we have any public comment, David? No? Okay. I don't think we have any members of the public on the phone, okay? So, unless there's anything else, I appreciate everybody joining us, and we are adjourned.